If there was a superpower that helped you communicate more intelligently, understand others more deeply, and make better decisions in both work and life, would you want it? Not mind reading, not manipulation, but a very real, very human, and very essential ability: the ability to read character. In an age where everything is changing so rapidly, from technology to markets to the way people connect, those who understand others deeply have an advantage. They don't need to say much, but they always choose the right words. They don't need to try to fit in, because they know how to adjust themselves to create real connections. And the special thing is, they don't just understand others, they understand themselves. We often focus a lot on learning skills, accumulating knowledge, developing personal brands, but forget one thing: all sustainable success starts with the ability to understand people. Because people are the decisive factor in every game, from negotiation, leadership, sales, love, to raising children. So how to develop that ability systematically, not just relying on intuition? The answer is Enneagram, a system of human psychology analysis that has existed for thousands of years and is increasingly used in training, therapy, leadership and personal development in many developed countries, especially in the United States. The Enneagram divides people into 9 core personality types, each representing a deep life drive, something that drives how we think, feel, and act every day. Some people live to be perfect. Some people live to be loved. Some people are constantly chasing success. Some people just want to be themselves, to be understood. Some people are always wary of risks, or live for security, or crave unlimited freedom. It sounds simple, but when you learn to see a person's core personality type upon first meeting, you'll communicate properly, because you say something they can understand and accept. Create a natural impact, because you tap into their deep-seated needs. Avoid unnecessary conflict, because you don't accidentally touch on something they fear or avoid. And most importantly, you know how to master yourself, because you understand why you behave the way you do, react the way you do, and can adjust yourself so that you don't get caught up in unconscious emotions. The interesting thing is, no one is just one type, but there is always a dominant type that governs the majority of how they behave in their daily lives. And it is precisely identifying that dominant type that is the key to reading people at a glance. Imagine you're having a conversation with someone you've met for the first time, and within the first few minutes, you can already guess what they care about most. Know how to put them at ease or on guard. Know what their weaknesses are, what their strengths are, what drives them forward or holds them back. All of this isn't magic. It's the result of understanding the Enneagram and knowing how to apply it. The Enneagram is more than just a label for people. It's a map, a way to go deeper into yourself, to connect with others, rather than just communicate on the surface. And it starts with a simple question: what are they living for? In the next section, we will explore each of the 9 Enneagram personality types, how to recognize them, how to communicate with them, and how to leverage this understanding to transform yourself into a truly influential person. No force, no pretense, just understanding. Ready? Because soon, you will never look at people the same way again. If you've ever worked with someone who is obsessed with every detail, always corrects typos in emails even though the content is perfect, or reacts strongly to what they perceive as wrong, chances are you're dealing with someone who falls under the Enneagram's number 1 personality type, the reformer. And if you've ever known someone who always asks, "Can I help you?" is always there when you need them, and seems to live for others more than for themselves, welcome to personality type number 2, the helper. These two personality types represent two completely different drives in life. Perfectors live to be right, to be true to their standards, to be true to their principles. Helpers live to be loved, needed, and to feel valued through giving. So how can you quickly identify these two types of people, and more importantly, how can you communicate with them effectively? Especially when you want to build trust, connection, and long-term cooperation? Let me start with type number 1, the perfect man. _blank. They are people with a very clear moral compass. For them, life cannot be lived haphazardly. Everything has order and principles. They live with an inner voice that constantly reminds them to do better, be better, avoid mistakes. And not only are they strict with themselves, they also easily apply that standard to others. You will find them cautious in their words, fond of correcting mistakes, talking about standards, principles, right and wrong. Their gestures are usually firm. Their eyes are somewhat serious, and they rarely truly relax. It is not because they do not want to have fun, it is because they think having fun without responsibility is a sin. I once worked for a boss like that. He was extremely disciplined. Things like deadlines, email structure, slide presentation, everything had to be perfect. At first I found it suffocating. But when I understood the Enneagram, I realized he wasn't trying to control others, he was trying to control his own fear. The fear is, if I don't do it right, it will be wrong, and if it is wrong, I will no longer be valuable. So if you want to connect with perfects, show them that you value kindness, integrity, and quality. Don't play around too much. And especially, don't be lazy. They're more sensitive to irresponsibility than anyone else. They don't need you to be perfect, but they do need you to be genuine, committed, and not take for granted the effort they put into even the smallest things. _blank. Now, on to type number 2, the helper. If you've ever had a friend who is always there when you're sad, silently takes care of your meals, comforts you, and always has a warm smile, you've just met someone with a type 2 heart. Helpers have the energy of giving. They live to love and feel useful. But behind that lies a silent fear. If they do not help others, they will not be loved. So they sometimes sacrifice themselves too much, to the point of forgetting themselves. They are tired, but still smile. They are in pain, but still care about others. They always ask, "Are you okay?" while they themselves are silently collapsing. You can recognize this type of person by their soft eyes, open body language, and willingness to help to the point of being over the top. They make you feel cared for and understood easily. But you can also hurt them deeply if you ignore their feelings. So how to communicate with them better? Say thank you. Acknowledge what they do. Show them that they are valuable, not because they can help you, but because of who they are. And never make them feel unwanted, because that to them, is nothing more than a blow to their self-esteem. Blank. Underscore. Blank. You see, just understanding a little bit of the Enneagram allows you to see deeper into the other person. They are more than just their behavior, they are their untold story. And when you understand that story, you become empathetic, not judgmental, connecting, not controlling, accompanying, not possessive. We'll continue this journey in the next part, when we explore types 3 and 4. But for now, take a look at the people around you. Who are the perfect ones? Who are the helpers? And the more important question, which of the two are you? Don't leave yet, because the next personality types will open up even deeper surprises for you. Have you ever met someone who made you think, wow, this person was born to lead? They walk into a room with a confident presence. They dress neatly, speak sharply, and always seem to have a clear goal waiting to be conquered. You look at them and see professionalism, speed, results, and something that makes you believe, this person never stops midway. Yes, it could very well be Enneagram personality type number 3, the achiever. Blank. Underscore. Blank. Successful people live to move forward. They define their self-worth by their accomplishments. For them, life is a series of to be achieved, a never-ending campaign. They want to be recognized as the best, the fastest, the most efficient, not because they're showing off, but because that's how they feel worthy. You can recognize them by the way they appear: neat, tidy, full of life. They are often the ones who bring positive energy to the group, but behind that dynamism is a clear, almost relentless system of personal goals. I once worked with an American businesswoman who was the living definition of Type 3. She started work at 5 a.m., always had a 6-month plan, and always knew what the next step in her career was. Once, I asked her, "Don't you get tired?" She smiled and replied, "Only when I do nothing, then I get really tired." That answer says it all. Blank. Underscore. Blank. So how do you communicate effectively with a successful person? Don't beat around the bush. Don't waste time. And don't talk just to fill the void. Talk about results. Talk about actions. Talk about accomplishments. Show them that you're a goal-oriented person, and that you're here to contribute, not be a hindrance. Another important thing: respect the image they create. They put a lot of effort into maintaining a professional, dynamic, and efficient image. Don't damage that trust by being irresponsible or making empty promises. They will listen to you if you are fast enough, clear enough, and interested in doing better. Blank. Underscore. Blank. Now, let's talk about the type of person that makes you curious. People with a distinct style, who like to talk about deep things, are sometimes a bit unpredictable. They don't try to stand out in a loud way, but in a very unique way. That is the individualist, personality type number 4 in the Enneagram. Also known as the individualist. Blank. Underscore. Blank. Individualistic people live to feel and express their deep self. They have a rich, creative, and sensitive inner world. They are different, not because they want to be, but because they cannot live like everyone else. For them, life must have depth. It must have real emotions. It must be expressed in a unique way. You'll recognize them by their unique aesthetic, the way they talk about art, emotions, or iconic experiences. But because of that, they can be vulnerable to feeling ignored, lumped together, or, worst of all, labeled weird. I once had a friend, a designer, who was a strong type 4. During a group brainstorming session, everyone was talking about deadlines, costs, profits, but she suddenly went silent. I asked her what was wrong, and she said, "Everything is fine, but if it doesn't have any soul, I don't want to do it." It was then that I understood, for type 4s, a project is not just about getting done, it has to have meaning. Blank. Underscore. Blank. So what should you do if you work, live, or love a personality? Embrace differences. Never call someone weird. Praise their creativity, but be genuine, don't be cliché. And especially, don't push them into a box. They need space to express themselves, to breathe, to be themselves. And if they share their true feelings with you, that's a gift. Because individuals don't open up easily. But once they trust you, you'll gain a friend, an ally, and an incredibly loyal heart. Blank. Underscore. Blank. In short, the successful person lives to achieve, the individualist lives to express his or her inner self. One is an extrovert, one is an introvert, one measures by achievement, the other by feeling. Understanding these two types of people will help you know when to speak with numbers, and when to listen with your heart. We'll move on to personality types later. But for now, think about this. Are you living to be successful? Or are you living to be yourself? And if both are important, which one is dominating you more? Have you ever met someone who is very intelligent, very knowledgeable, but extremely quiet in a group conversation? They are never the most talkative. But when they do speak, everyone shuts up to listen. They don't like parties. They don't make noise. They don't need to be the center of attention. But they can sit for hours mulling over an idea, analyzing a problem, or reading to the last page of a study that everyone else left off at the first paragraph. Welcome to personality type number 5 in the Enneagram model, the observer. Also known as the investigator. Blank. Underscore. Blank. The observer lives to understand. They do not seek fame or social recognition. What they really crave is knowledge, clarity about the world. To them, understanding something deeply is more important than being popular. But here's what you need to know. They're very sensitive to energetic boundaries. Observers get tired when they're forced to interact too much. Small talk, meaningless gatherings, even noise, all of it can cause them to withdraw. If you work with them, or live with them, you'll notice one thing. They don't speak when they don't need to. But don't mistake that for coldness. They're just protecting their energy, and weighing every word to make sure that when they do speak, it adds value. I once worked with a researcher, a classic 5. In meetings, he rarely participated in the initial discussions. But at the last minute, when everyone was at a standstill, he would suddenly speak up, and what he shared completely changed the direction of the project. It wasn't because he was smarter than everyone else, it was because he observed more, listened more, and spoke only when he was sure. Blank. Underscore. Blank. So what if you want to communicate effectively with the observer? Respect their space. Don't pressure them to talk when they're not ready. Use data, logic, analysis. They respond well to clear, concise information. And if they get quiet, don't worry. It's not a rejection, it's a sign that they're processing the information. When they come back with an answer, you'll understand why they're one of the most valuable people in any team. Blank. Underscore. Blank. Now, let's move on to personality type number 6, the loyalist. If you know someone who is always nervous before making decisions, constantly asking you, "Are you sure?" or "Is this safe?" you are most likely dealing with the type 6. Blank. Underscore. Blank. The loyal lives to ensure safety. They are loyal, dedicated, and trustworthy. But behind that tough exterior lies a mind that is constantly preoccupied with what could go wrong. They are masters at imagining the worst-case scenario, not to whine, but to prepare for it. They have a mental list of plans BCD for any potential disaster. I once had a friend who was a human resources manager, a true number 6. She never made a decision without considering the worst-case scenario. But because of that, when the real disaster struck, she was the first one to stand firm. Because she had imagined the situation in advance. Blank. Underscore. Blank. You'll easily recognize this type of person because they ask questions over and over again. Double-check information, and often seek reassurance from people they trust. And that's the key word. Trust. Once a loyal trusts you, they will stick with you until the end. But if you break their trust, even once, it is nearly impossible to regain it. Blank. Underscore. Blank. So how do you communicate well with them? Be clear, consistent, and don't change your stance too quickly. Number 6s don't need you to make big promises, they need stability, transparency, and especially presence. Avoid double talk. Don't withhold information. They'll feel insecure right away. And if you want them to make a decision, be patient, provide clear reasoning, and calm their inner fears. Blank. Underscore. Blank. In short, the observer lives in an inner world. The loyal lives in a world of what-if scenarios. One seeks understanding. One seeks security. One needs space. One needs reassurance. And if you understand those things, you won't be frustrated when they get it. Instead, you'll know how to create space for them to grow, and magic will happen. Because sometimes the silence of an observer is where the greatest ideas are born. And the caution of a loyalist is what keeps the system from falling apart. Do you see yourself in either of these types? Share in the comments, and don't miss the next part, where we explore the type of person who loves to live with absolute freedom. Do you ever feel jealous of people who are always full of energy? They are always full of ideas, plans, unexpected trips, new experiences, and they never seem to sit still. They make you laugh, inspire you, and make your life less boring just by showing up. That is the enthusiast, personality type number 7 in the Enneagram model. Blank. Underscore. Blank. The enthusiast lives to explore and enjoy. They love freedom, hate constraints, and have an uncanny instinct to always see the positive in every situation. Where others see obstacles, they see opportunities. When others are anxious, they are planning the next party. They don't just dream, they actually do. But then, they sometimes give up halfway through to pursue a more exciting idea. Their defining characteristic is their energy. So much so that it's contagious. They talk fast, change topics quickly, and are always excited about something new. If you've ever had a friend who can't sit still, always planning something more fun, congratulations. You've met a 7. I once worked with someone like this on a creative project. Every meeting was a brainstorming session. She would come up with 5 new ideas before you could even finish writing the first sentence. But if you didn't keep up with that energy, she would lose interest and start staring out the window dreaming of something more exciting. Blank. Underscore. Blank. So if you're working or living with an enthusiast, what's the most important thing? Give them a sense of freedom. And don't make it too hard. They thrive in dynamic environments where they have choices, where they can explore, where they can try and fail. When you communicate with them, use creativity. Ask them about their vision for the future. Offer choices instead of forcing them. What to avoid: pessimistic, heavy, or overly serious conversations. When they feel suffocated, they withdraw, not because they're irresponsible, but because they fear being trapped in negative things they cannot control. Blank. Underscore. Blank. Now, we move from the outgoing to the energetic type, explosive in a completely different way. This is the type of person who, when you walk into a room, you immediately recognize, not because they talk a lot, but because they have a strong aura. They are straightforward, decisive, and you feel, if something happens, this person will stand up to it. They are challengers, personality type number 8. Blank. Underscore. Blank. The challenger lives to control and protect. They are not afraid of difficulties, not afraid of confrontation. For them, the world is a place that needs to be shaped by power, not by force, but by stance, courage, and the ability to make decisive decisions. They can easily make others feel overwhelmed, but in fact, behind the tough exterior is a loyal heart and very clear about right and wrong. I remember a manager I worked with. She was a typical 8. Strong, not afraid of conflict, and always spoke up when there was injustice in the group. But if someone was honest, accountable, and kept their word, she would defend them to the end. Blank. Underscore. Blank. So what should you do when faced with a challenger? Be direct. Don't beat around the bush. Don't be afraid, and definitely don't fake it. They are very sensitive to feigned weakness, or to talking for fun but not meaning it. If you don't have your own opinion, they will walk all over you. But if you stand firm, are honest, and don't play games, they will respect you. Another important thing: don't try to control them. Type 8s are very sensitive to manipulation. They hate being controlled, and they also hate it when others don't have a clear opinion. They want you to be strong, not to confront them, but to hold them accountable and stand your ground when needed. Blank. Underscore. Blank. In short, the enthusiast lives to experience, the challenger lives to control. One is sunshine, the other is thunder. One inspires with joy, the other with inner strength. If you know how to communicate with these two types of people, you will have invaluable allies. One will open up new horizons for you. The other will protect you when the storm comes. Who do you identify with more? The person who wants freedom to try new things, or the person who wants control to protect what they believe in? Share in the comments, and don't forget, The final Enneagram personality type is waiting for you in the next video. The non-confrontational, non-popular type, but the glue that holds everyone together. Guess who it is? Have you ever met someone whose mere presence softens the atmosphere around them? They don't talk much. They don't try to be the center of attention. But their presence is so safe, so gentle, so comforting. They're the person you always want to invite to dinner because you know they won't make a big deal out of it if you can't agree on where to eat. They're the person who, when the group is arguing, will laugh it off and say, "Let's not get so worked up, okay?" They are the peacemaker, personality type number 9 in the Enneagram model. Blank. Underscore. Blank. The peacemaker lives to keep the peace. If you are building a team, a family, or a community, and you have a number 9 person there, you should know. They are the invisible glue that holds everyone together. For them, it's not about who wins, who's right, who's outstanding. It's about people feeling comfortable around each other. They have a special ability to accept differences without judgment. And that's why people trust mediators and seek them out when they want to be heard, but not judged. But behind that gentleness lies a story that few people see. They are afraid of conflict. Afraid of being dragged into an argument. Afraid of hurting someone. And to keep that peace, sometimes they disappear themselves. Blank. Underscore. Blank. You'll recognize a 9 by the way they carry themselves. Being very gentle and calm. They rarely express their opinions strongly. Even when you ask them what they like, they may take a while to answer. Not because they don't have their own opinions, but because they're afraid that their opinions might upset someone. I remember the first time I worked with a Type 9 colleague. In a tense meeting, everyone had different opinions. She was silent. I thought she didn't care. But after the meeting, she sent me a private email. Very gentle, analyzing the problem very clearly and deeply. At that moment I realized, the mediator is not the one who has nothing to say, but the one who chooses the way of speaking that is most receptive to others. Blank. Underscore. Blank. So, how to communicate effectively with a number 9 person? First of all, be patient, and really listen. They are not good at arguing. They will not fight for the microphone. But when you make them feel safe, no pressure, no coercion, they will start sharing very sincere, very deep things. Second, don't force them to choose sides. For them, things are not black and white. If you ask them to choose right or wrong, they will back down. They don't like clear boundaries when what they're looking for is harmony. Third, encourage them to express themselves gently. Ask them what they think. Be open-minded, not judgmental. And when they do start talking, listen as if you were listening to the most important thing that day. Because the truth is, what mediators share is often very thought-provoking. Blank. Underscore. Blank. But remember this. If you love a 9, don't let them stay in their comfort zone. Because they themselves need to be pushed to learn how to face conflict, to understand that true peace doesn't come from avoiding it, but from daring to talk it out and overcome it. They are great connectors, but sometimes they need someone patient enough to pull them out of the shadows of silence. Blank. Underscore. Blank. In short, the peacemaker is the type of person you want in any team. They don't fight for the spotlight. They don't start disagreements, but they keep things together. They are gentle, but not superficial. They are quiet, but not indifferent. And if you're lucky enough to have a 9 in your life, cherish them. But also remind them, your opinion matters. Your feelings deserve to be heard. And you don't have to get so in tune that you lose yourself. _blank. Do you see yourself in the image of the peacemaker? Or do you live with someone like that? Leave a comment below. And if you made it this far, you've just completed your journey to deciphering the 9 personality types in the Enneagram model. Now you have a map, not only to understand others, but to understand yourself more deeply. Together we have gone through the 9 personality types in the Enneagram model. Each type is a story, an inner world, a hidden motive inside a person that you may never see on the outside. And at this point, you might be thinking, so, what kind of person am I? What kind of person is the person next to me? And how can I use this knowledge to change my life? That's a good question. But let me emphasize this. The most important thing in the entire journey you just went through. We learn to read people, not to control them, but to understand them. _blank. The Enneagram is not a label you slap on someone's forehead. It's not a tool for you to say, oh, you're a 2 so you always want to be loved. Or, you're an 8 so you're definitely going to try to control other people. No, if you use the Enneagram to jump to conclusions, you're doing it wrong from the start. The real goal of the Enneagram is to open your heart, to help you see that every behavior, no matter how confusing, odd, or even negative it may seem, comes from some deeper motive that the person is trying to protect. The harsh person is not always critical. They may just be trying to do the right thing so they don't get hurt. The helpful person isn't trying to please. It's because they genuinely fear they're worthless if they can't help. The controlling person isn't necessarily power-hungry. It may be because they've been hurt by powerlessness in the past. When you look with empathy, you see, everyone is trying to be kind in the way they know how. _blank. And here's another truth to keep in mind. No one is one size fits all. Each person is a unique mix. Maybe you are a 3 achiever, but with the emotional depth of a 4, the caution of a 6, and the loyalty of a 9. Everyone is more complex than you think, and more beautiful than you think, if you have the patience to see it. However, identifying your dominant personality type gives you a compass. It's not a complete map, but a guide to understanding why a person reacts the way they do, behaves the way they do, and what they need to feel more secure in a relationship. _blank. I remember the first time I read about Enneagram. I saw myself in many ways, a little perfectionist, a little control freak, and a lot of avoidant type 7. But what changed me profoundly wasn't understanding who I was. It was starting to understand why I reacted the way I did in certain situations. I started to hold back a word that might hurt someone. I learned to listen instead of push. I no longer felt frustrated when a friend hesitated to make a decision, because I understood that it was their way of protecting themselves from making a mistake. I changed, not because I was trying to control someone, but because I learned how to adjust myself to connect more authentically. _blank. And that's why I say, the Enneagram doesn't start with other people. It starts with you. You learn to observe, not to judge. You learn to identify, not to label. You learn to adjust, not to manipulate. And you learn to love, unconditionally. Blank. Underscore. Blank. So, if you've made it this far, I just want you to take away one thing. Start with understanding. Lasting connections will follow. Because when you understand the reason behind someone's behavior, you stop being angry, you start being curious. You stop being distant, you start being compassionate. You stop needing to win, you start choosing to love. Blank. Underscore. Blank. Thank you for joining me on this journey of exploring these 9 personality types. This may be a video, but if you take it seriously, it could be a new beginning for all the relationships in your life, including the relationship with yourself. If you want me to continue this series of content that dives deeper into each personality type, or applies the Enneagram to work, love, parenting, or personal development, leave a comment below. I'll read it and accompany you every step of the way on this journey of understanding. Because understanding others is the best way to live with an unguarded heart. And that is where true connection begins. Which of the 9 Enneagram personality types do you identify with? The journey to understanding begins with you, and the best part is, no one has to fit into a label. Each person is a unique mix and deserves to be fully understood. If you feel this video helps you see yourself more clearly, or understand more deeply someone who has hurt, confused, or loved you, leave a comment below. I am a number type, or share your honest thoughts. Don't forget to like, share the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more insightful videos on how the Enneagram can change your life, your relationships, and your inner growth path. The next video will guide you through applying the Enneagram to real-life work, love, and personal growth.